song is first?
What was it again?
You said
My Life.
My Life. Gotcha.
Well, let's do the other one because My Life kind of slow. So let's do something to get people asses up. Let's go with what did I say? Fine, fine, fine. That one. Fine, fine. That one.
Just fine.
Just don't sing like me. I really can't sing though. Y'all gotta give me some time. Work on that.
Just there you go. Just design.
Yes, because we are. And before I forget, let me cut off my ringer. That's not how it sounds on that though, right?
No.
It's still the speaker
that's
thing.
the speaker.
Okay, I gotta remind myself that. Well, I shouldn't go live then, huh? Because I don't want people to hear that on my live.
No, we're playing. Let me show you how it sounds on the phone.
No, but you know what I'm saying? When I go live.
That's just the speaker in here.
Right, because if I'm live, I don't hear everything I'm doing. Well, my live. I'm not running through the audio on the computer. I'm talking about
Who's going to start your live on?
Right, but having my personal stuff.
Well, we're going to turn that down a little bit. You won't hear it.
Okay. Oh, yeah, because that's making me sad. I don't like that. Messing me up. Especially when my song comes on.
Yeah, that's a woofer speaker.
Yeah, I could have brought in some boom too. So is it under Beltway Radio and Beyond on Facebook too?
Yes.
Okay. Am I good on the mic? Oh, okay.
On your camera shot. You on?
Wait a minute, the camera's on now?
It's on your background.
Oh, yeah, but you'll let me know when you're going to break it. Well, I'll go on there to my theme song. That's when y'all can break it down.
You want me to play all 3 songs now?
No, just play this song now, and then my theme song, and then break it down. It sound good on there though? Or is he checking now? You checking it now?
I hear you.
Oh, okay. Okay. Can y'all run that intro real quick? Run that back. Yes, yeah. I can do it on the right
You want to dance with one of them?
No, it's okay. I wanted to run and grab something real quick.
Something else?
It's okay. We good. I'll take care of it on the break. I was gonna say lunch.
Live.
Hey, what's good, y'all? What's really, really good? First of all, Happy New Year. I brought my little noisemakers, but I forgot them. I hope everybody is well. What's going on in the check-in? Thank you so much for following up and checking in. I know y'all missed me. Did y'all miss me as much as I missed you guys? I mean, do y'all really? Don't just tell me anything. I hope that you do. I'm so happy. So once again, happy 2023 to you all. Woo! Absolutely. So as you can see, it's a lot of changes going on. So first of all, we elevated, right? Because we know this new year is all about elevation, baby. It's all about elevation. So we went from we good over here to we great over here. How that sound? That sound real great to me. I'll ring the bell for myself, okay? So for those that are just tuning in, you know, I am the hostess with the mostest. I go by the name of Simone Skyye with the 2 Y's and that E, a.k.a. the jeweler, for all the jewels that we drop. Can I get some trilling, please? Again, I don't know why I said trilling, but they knew what it meant, so hey, that's all that matters, right, baby? Y'all know they call me a lot of things, but what you could call me is call me your brown boo with the blonde hair, don't care, coming to you live and direct from the new Beltway Radio and Beyond, baby. Go on and give it up for that. Go on and give it up, give it up, give it up, give it up. So I'm looking to check and shout out to my man Jay down in ATL. What's going on, my Hotland of finest? We need to do some business, bro, so I'll be hitting you up very soon. Shout out to Louisiana. I see you in on the check-in. I see you doing big things. Black Stand, what's good? To everybody tuning in, what's good? How you doing? How you doing? We got a lot to uncover. New year, new things, right? Again, it's all about elevation. So I hope you guys enjoyed the new theme song. One of my favorites. Shout out to Blue Bag Incorporated, my man Big Lou over there. We actually just pulled that very recently. So when I'm telling you I'm giving it to you guys hot, fresh off the press, it doesn't get no fresher than that. Yes, your girl has those type of skills too. So, you know, we engineered it, we produced it, and boom, voila, here we go, baby. So, you know, I got some shout outs. I'm so excited about today's episode because first of all, it's the brand new episode from the brand new radio show and the brand new name of my show. So all these brand news, we coming in brand new, as the song say. And yes, I said new because y'all know I represent my Baltimore, all right? And I know my twos, do's, and news. I know y'all always want to be talking about that, but I don't care because, hey, it is who I am, so you got to love me and take it as I am. Speaking of take me as I am, shout out to my baby. My favorite go other than myself, because happy belated birthday to me, by the way. Let me ring that bell. New Year's Eve, as they say, the best for last, baby. So that's me. That's Simone Skyye energy right there, all right? So when you celebrate me. I ain't even know it, because that's how big of a damn deal I am. But my other favorite goat, of course, is Mary J. Blige. So give it up for MJB. Looking gorgeous, all right? Definitely giving what's given. So I need you guys to do is get ready to call in, or you can type some questions and comments because I do have a very, very special guest to start the year off, right? This is 2023, which means next year is, guess what, the presidential election. That will be coming up very soon. So I'm so happy that we got this queen. Morgan State Bear is what she is, representing all the big things. Miss Angela Dwyer is in the building. President-elect, okay? I keep saying president-elect. I must be talking in existence, so maybe, you know, when she get up there, maybe I could be VP. Let's see. Simone Skyye for vice president. Damn, that sounds real good. Let me bring her along my own self, right? But yes, presidential candidate Angela Dwyer, and she's running for the independent party. So we're going to talk a little politics. That's something that I don't usually do on the show. But again, part of my job is to make sure that you guys are informed that you have choices. We don't have to just be stuck. I don't play the being stuck things. So you guys need to know what's going on, and that's part of my job. So I had to make it do what it do, baby. Get your notes. Be ready to in the student government.
Yes.
So how much of that experience for you would you say played a role into you filing and putting your hat in the ring for the highest office of the land?
Well, while I was at Morgan State University, I put my hat for the highest office in the land of Morgan State
Okay.
University.
Absolutely.
So I was elected the first female president.
I
of the
love
entire
that.
student body,
Ooh.
1985.
Ooh.
1985.
Wow. Let me find out that was your introduction to the universe for you becoming the first black female in the highest office of the land.
Man, I was kind of following my brother-in-law, who was Sherman Moore. He was president of student government in 1970 something. I forget the year.
Okay.
But long story short, he married my sister
Okay.
and kind of followed him to Morgan.
I love
He was
it.
president of student government at the time, so I was kind of doing.
Now, I know that times have changed because more people are really getting into going to HBCUs. How do you feel? Like, how does that resonate with you to watch the change over time, to see it becoming more popularized?
Long story short, I'm concerned regarding how we've made education a business.
Okay.
We've made it hard for minorities, young African Americans, to attend HBCU in addition to any other college that they want to go to. So I am concerned where we aren't educating our young people here in America. We've turned it into a business. And if you can't afford to send your child to college, what are you doing? Taking out loans,
Yes.
student loans. By the time your child finishes college, sometimes up to $100,000 in debt. Buy-ins for a job that may only pay you $50,000 a year.
Right.
So how do you pay that?
That's a big problem. That's definitely a big problem. And
And it's worse for HBCU students.
yes, I know that, and I don't want to say any names on the show because, of course, we great over here, so I try not to go in that direction. But I know within the last couple years that there has been a couple of schools that have been mentioned where the living conditions of the students just weren't right. You know, it's unfortunate. So that's an issue that we all can agree on. Once you win office, because again, I'm all about speaking things into existence because that's just how I roll. What are some things that you would do for that? For example, I know that with the Biden administration, that they had some money set aside or that was given to some HSBUs. I'm sorry, HBCUs. Excuse me. So, number one, are you happy with the plan that you saw?
Well, any money that HBCUs are able to come into, I applaud.
Okay.
So, however, the Biden administration needs to set more money aside to help educate African American students.
I love that. Now, is there anything that you would possibly do differently with your administration?
Well, you need to be able to have, 2 more years in addition to high school where we should be educating our students for free. That's just the bottom line.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, some kids are made for college, some kids aren't.
This is true. This is true.
I feel as though we should give our kids an opportunity to have a post-secondary education. The country pays for that. In addition to, if your child isn't a college student, maybe they want to go to a trade school.
Mm-hmm.
Or possibly we get large corporations involved in on-the-job training.
Okay.
So, however, we need to make education, post-secondary education, a priority where the country pays for that, for 2 years, and then if your kid wants to have a 4-year degree, then we could go on to, some other Pell Grants, or,
Mm-hmm.
student loans and ended up with $100,000 in debt 4 years in addition to your graduate degree, you won't be able to pay for that.
It's really, really wouldn't, and that's really not the way. And I mean, you hear about it all of the time that people have all these thousands and thousands, and as you mentioned before, hundreds of thousands of loans, and they're working 2 and 3 jobs just to kind of get by. So it's definitely a problem that needs to be looked at if we want to continue as the great United States of America to be competitive with other countries that value education, and put that ahead of the scope because they get it. Then okay, if we need to be educated in order to get where we need to go.
We are the wealthiest country in the universe.
Absolutely.
So why are we treating our children as if, they don't deserve a post-secondary education? Why are we treating them as a business?
Yes. Yes. And it's very interesting. I know that in Baltimore City, if you are a resident, that you have that option if you wanted to go to school, that you could go to a community college and it'll be free, which I think is absolutely amazing. And I feel like that is a step in the right direction. And so my thing is, if you have cities that have shown that this is working, and I believe Baltimore County is too. So if we have places that are showing, different cities are showing that these things are working, then why can't we make that all across the land? So it's definitely something to think about.
Because, Anne Arundel charges associate's degree.
Yes, yes, it does.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's definitely a step in the right direction because you always want to feel that you have choices. No one wants to feel stuck. And I'm with you. I don't feel like you should have to say, okay, well, should I go and get out this big loan? Sometimes people get in loans against their houses to be able to put my baby through school. And I have 3 children. One is of college age right now. And then I have 2 younger ones, which will be looking at different colleges and universities moving forward as an option once they graduate high school. So it's like, these are the things that I think about as a parent. And as things get more expensive, that really bothers me. I get scared.
It's bananas, yeah. So it's understandable.
Oh, yes. So let's switch lanes for a minute since we're talking about, money and the inflation and things is getting out of control. As a citizen, we're always concerned about what does the highest office in the land, what does the people in D.C., what are they going to do to make sure that there's a living wage? Because I know we talked about this before, poverty is still a thing. And it should not be that way in 2023. We shouldn't have big cities, especially that it's home to a lot of people that look like you and I, that have the highest percentage of poverty. So what solutions, or how do you feel about that? And once you state that, what are some proposed solutions that you have that maybe your administration would implement?
Well, so I'm from Coatesville, Pennsylvania. So I will say, with Coatesville, Pennsylvania being a small city, the poverty rate is almost up to 30%.
Wow. And that's crazy.
Every other corner has a dollar store. We don't have any, we don't have a hospital at this point.
What?
Yeah, yeah. We don't have a hospital. The closest
Wow.
hospital is 25 miles. So, poverty all across America, we've got to lower poverty all across America. And when you hear the word inflation, so that's code word for we don't want you to increase federal minimum wage. So that's my goal. The last time we increased federal minimum wage was 2009. President Obama was in
Are you
office.
serious? And this is 2023.
Yes.
Wow.
And the federal minimum wage increased to $7.25 at that point.
Wow.
So if you're working 40 hours a week, $7.25, you're living under the poverty line, which is, for this country, it's $15,000 a year, maybe somewhat under that. So you have, large corporations, otherwise the top 1%, are sitting behind the scenes, putting money into both parties, both Democrat and Republicans, whichever party they feel as though is going to help them this particular year or that year, to keep people in poverty, to have lower minimum wage, so they can make their product cheaper and on the back end sell it higher. Both parties have yet to bring increasing federal minimum wage to the floor.
Wow.
I've been watching both houses. So at the end of the day, unless you increase minimum wage, because then they say, oh my goodness, inflation, if you pay someone a living wage,
Right.
then we have to charge more for our product. No, you don't.
Right. And then you also hear about the big corporations saying we'll also have to lay off X amount of people to scare you. At least that's what it seems like to me, like a scare tactic.
You know, I guarantee you I've already paid more in federal taxes this year than Nike.
Oh, I'm sure.
So whatever Nike got going on, which they shouldn't have going on, they've yet to pay any federal taxes this year.
Wow. And I want everybody to understand it's not a diss to Nike.
No,
you know,
it is. So sorry.
You know what I'm saying?
Fortune 500. I'm so sorry.
But when you're talking politics, the Fortune 500 companies and the different companies, they come into play with this because a lot of them are funding the PAC organizations and the people, you know, that are supporting these politicians. So so let me go back a minute. Everyone knows about Republicans. Everybody knows about the Democratic Party. So what made you say, you know what, I don't want either. I'm going to go independent?
For one, you know, while I was on the campaign trail during the congressional race for West Virginia, I ran for West Virginia Congressional District 2 this past spring.
Okay, awesome.
In the primary. So I ran as a Democrat. In speaking with people on the campaign trail, you know, many of them said, well, I don't want to vote for a Democrat or a Republican. Where are my options? Because we don't even let, during primaries, we don't even let independents on the ballot.
I've noticed that.
So that for one thing, we've got to be able to have ballot access during primaries.
Yes.
As independents. You know, it discourages people from voting. So when you go to a community, signing people up to vote, and they say to you, well, they aren't helping, Democrats aren't helping, Republicans aren't helping, I ain't voting.
Right. And we saw that. We've all witnessed this in previous elections, you know, with people we won't say, but we all know, so we'll just leave it there to keep it great over here. And that's not the way, because as a citizen, that is your duty, that is your right to vote. And we all know that people have died for the right for people like you and me to vote. So if you, like you said, if I look at this ballot and I only see Republican and Democratic, I don't see an independent person on there, it's kind of like, it, like you said, it discourages you, and it kind of like pushes you in this pot to say, okay, you only have two choices, when that's not true. So what do you do to that? Is there some type of legislation that needs to be pushed to, you know, go back to what you were saying, to let independents have access to that? Because level the playing field, why don't you? What are you afraid of? Are you afraid that more people will say, you know what, I'm going to go the way and swing way up independent versus I'm Democratic or I'm Republican?
Well, for one, we've got to get involved with our state legislators.
Yes.
Every state. So that's why it's, for one thing, it's important for you to know who you're voting for, local, statewide, congressional, otherwise federal, and, you know, for presidential. So at the end of the day, Congress could enact legislation so that the independent choice of party is present for the for the democracy situation that we have. I mean, you know, fair democracy means you present choices for everyone involved.
I agree.
So
I
that's
agree
why
with that.
we need to be able to present the independent party and have them within the primaries and general election
So
without
now
having to jump through hoops.
I agree. And I'm glad you brought that up. So, how important would you say that local, because I tell people this all the time. So, maybe if they hear from someone else, they'll say, okay, well, that's just not Simone or her soapbox, right? How important would you say, if you had to rank them with your local elections, your state elections, and your federal elections? Because you have some people, some citizens that'll just go out and just do strictly fed, and that's it. They won't even entertain the local or the state elections.
Everyone should be concerned for their local election, especially for our children. So that was one of the interesting things while I was running for the congressional race. The concern of what they're doing in our school districts
Mm-hmm.
and how they are controlling the narrative to what they are teaching or aren't teaching our kids.
Mm-hmm.
So that comes from the school board. And if you aren't voting locally to present your ideas, and voting your your status as far as the your board members
Mm-hmm.
for the school, you've got to know who is running for local office, especially for your board members in school,
Wow.
because they could teach your child a narrative which is against LGBTQ,
Mm-hmm.
racism.
Mm-hmm.
You can't have this book in school because we feel as though LGBT kids are going to rub off on our kids.
Right.
And I guarantee you, your school board members, some of them are trying to control the narrative where it's taking us back.
Wow.
So taking us all back,
Mm-hmm.
including our children, to the days, the Jim Crow laws.
And I tell you, you just blew me away with what you just said because I'm gonna be honest. I never thought and looked at the different boards of education like that. I really didn't. And when you sit there and think about it, it does make sense. And I just feel like as a people, not even just in the black community, but just across, like it is, we need to do our due diligence. We need to research these people.
Yes.
We need to know their background. We need to know what they really stand for. Because some people are really great at hiding that thing, hiding it, wearing a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Is this really who you are? Are you just saying that, to talk slick, just to put it in terms of a relationship, you got that fine man and he just telling you what you want to hear to bring you on in there. And then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, who is this guy? And for the females too, for the males, I ain't gonna keep it like that because again, we great over here, so you equally up into it, okay? You're a guy and you're like, oh, she is so pretty, and she start talking that game, spitting all the game ever, and then it's like, oh wow, well, who is this person? Where'd you come from? So we just have to do better. We really do. And I will jump out there and say, because you hear this a lot, so I'm just going to say it and approach the elephant in the room. I do know that media has a lot to do with that. Now, am I the type of person? Not at all. I want to show all sides. If we're going to talk about it, let's make it fair and present all options and present all aspects of what's going on. But then you do have some media outlets that only show an extreme part of what's going on. They don't show the whole thing, and that's an issue. And I know that's something that media, we have a responsibility to do it the right way.
Yeah. The interesting thing is they talk so much about Trump, but any story they present regarding Trump, so whether it's positive or negative,
Mm-hmm.
he's still getting airtime.
Still getting airtime. Absolutely. And that's a whole discussion in itself right there.
I had to mute the TV and put the music on one day.
Mhm.
I couldn't.
It's very true though.
I had to all his drama. I was like, oh my goodness, he's just getting airtime, which is, people are just throwing money his way.
Yeah.
Every time you say something negative about Trump, money goes into his
Mm-hmm.
campaign fund.
Mm-hmm. So he's still winning and he's not even out there, which makes me afraid, again, as a person, as a veteran, you know what I'm saying? Air Force all day. And shout out to all my service members, former, retired, whatever, you did your time. I appreciate you. I salute you. Those that are newly coming in, I salute you because it takes big shoes and a lot to do what we do. And for our supporting people, our supporting those that love us, that support us, our families, our friends, because it's a lot. So that's a perfect segue into that. As a veteran, now that I'm no longer active duty, I worry about my benefits. Back in the day, now don't go calculating trying to figure out how old I am, all right? Because I know there's always gonna be one person be like, carry the two. Don't do that to me. But I often worry about that because when I came in, it was free medical for life, free dental for life. And now you have to pay into those programs. So wait a minute. Last time I checked, if you said free, free does not mean I have to pay. I don't even care if it's $1. Free and paying is two different things. So if you become president, which again we're gonna put in there and say when you become president, right? I'm gonna say that in the mic because I want everybody to hear that. When you become Madam President, what would you and your administration do to protect the veterans? Because I worry about that.
Well, first of all, I want to thank you for your service.
Well, thank you.
The time that you and your service colleagues have served for our country, and then just come back home and see that, all the work that you put in serving your country refuses to serve you when necessary. In West Virginia is number 3 in the country for poverty. The poverty rate is almost 18%. 10% of that are homeless vets.
Wow.
10% of
That's
the
really
18,
about to bring me to tears. That hurts.
10% of the 18% are homeless veterans or veterans living in poverty. These are the people that we allowed to jump out of airplanes in Iraq.
Absolutely.
Went to the front lines. Many have come back with post-traumatic stress.
Oh, yes.
And they're treating post-traumatic stress, as if,
the things
they don't
we have to go through.
right.
I know it all too well.
And if you're unable to work a 9-to-5 job or a 40-hour work week because you're post-traumatic stress, at the end of the day, you can't handle it. You're out on the street. You just live in poverty. There's a gentleman he can almost tell you most of things in history, but the one thing that you could see he has post-traumatic stress from the war is that he's unable to hold a job. And he's unable to understand, like when they give him, housing, he can keep up to the housing. So they just let him out on the streets and we're washing our
And
hands
that's
of
so
it.
sad.
It is.
It's so sad because, I've been in those situations. And I would tell you, as a mom of 3 babies and now a grandmother, because I have a little grandson, shout out to little Cass, that was hard. It's hard to serve with someone, you laughing and kikiing, as they say, with them today. 2 days later, he's in a body bag. That's tough. A lot of us can tell you about different stories that we've and different experiences that we have. I had to go to sleep. I don't want to say packing cats, right? But hey, I'm from Baltimore, so I speak how I speak. Even though we don't say gats, by the way. But being armed I'm in my sleep. That's a lot because it's like in the back of my mind, my goal is to make sure I leave here in one piece. And I always pray not to only leave here in one piece physically, but mentally too. And I stop and I sit and I think about, my sisters and brothers in arms. And when I say that, I'm not talking color. Color does not matter. We all wore the uniform. It's like, okay, I'm one of the lucky ones that got to come home. Do I suffer from PTSD? Absolutely. Have I been successful in the way that I've been treated or the treatment that I received to help deal with that? Absolutely. So my way of giving back to my veteran community is I didn't probably share this with you, but I'm also a licensed massage therapist as well as esthetician. So when I came home, because wellness was such a big thing and helped me get through my time in the service away from home, I do those services to give back to my veteran communities. That's one of the reasons why I came back home. And so I get sad when I'm like, all the things that we go through, why are we struggling for basic needs? It shouldn't be a struggle. Are there resources out there? Absolutely. But they're only as good as the people that is getting the information. So what do we do to combat such a big problem that should not exist?
Congress took away the benefits. Congress has to reenact the benefits. From my understanding, so at some point, Congress had, some senators and House of Representatives
Right.
decided
That's
they
never
were
stepped
gonna
foot
take-
on the field.
Right, never been on the field. Don't know the first thing about war.
Nope.
But they decided that, well, when you come home, we're going to start charging you
Right.
for your VA benefits.
Right. And that's just crazy
Your
in itself.
Your VA benefits that you worked for serving the country.
Right. And it's crazy because I'll be honest, you do have different programs to help you get housing. However, because of the different locations that you go to and depending on the type of job, sometimes, or depending on your situation without getting too deep into it, because we can talk about that another time. But you do have some service members that end up having issues, credit issues.
Mm-hmm.
So my thing is, when it comes to housing, why do we have to rely on credit? You know what I'm saying? I mean, because you've heard of those different times. Again, stuff may happen, situations happen. Service members are trying to support their family and do the best they can off the money that they make and off the resources that they have. But now we're going to bring credit into it. And now you can't get a house because your credit, you may have blemishes. I mean, life happens to everybody.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Why do we even have that requirement? So that's something that I'm always be concerned about as a veteran because I know too many people that go through it. And some of those stories I can speak for myself. So I'm glad that you are definitely pro-veteran because that means a lot. I really appreciate that.
Oh, appreciate your service. At the end of the day, nobody should be on the streets.
I agree.
So again, I'll say it again. We are the wealthiest country in the world. We should not have homeless veterans, children, neighbors
Mm-hmm.
being put out on the street.
I agree.
We just shouldn't. I look at, I'm going to show you a picture of.
Wow.
So that's
Oh,
a
I know
picture
that all
of-
too well.
of Ukraine and Baltimore. And just because I put the label there, you're able to tell
Oh,
which is which.
I'm from home. So I talk about this all the time. So to know that you take this situation very personally, which for you to go through this, I know that you do. That means a lot to me because you have other cities that look like my home of Baltimore. There should never be blocks and blocks and blocks of rundown homes that are just really a shell, and they're not even a sturdy shell. Because not only, I don't know if you guys can see this, so it also brings about different other issues like rodents and stuff like that. So it's a big issue. You have other cities that go through it. Then you look at Ukraine. So we can send all this money. So what she has here is she has some pictures. So she has a photograph from Baltimore, again my home, and Ukraine. Okay, Ukraine has received $13 billion, And the question she has on here, which is part of her platform, is where's Baltimore's 13 billion? Now you're talking a city that's less than an hour from DC if we want to keep it a buck. Where's the money? So you can send all this money across the water, but you can't keep that money here in the US. And I do want to get into what's going on in Jackson
Yes.
because that's a shame. And the government should really be ashamed of themselves. So would you like to speak to that?
Jackson, Mississippi. Hmm. Here we go. You talk education. We aren't, Jackson, Mississippi isn't an educational priority for us, according to, I don't know, their governor or their higher-ups in that. Because they won't give Jackson, Mississippi, I think they need, so I think $2 or $3 billion to update the water system, which for years was broken down.
Yes.
And they, keep trying to, Band-Aid it or whatever. But however, at the end of the day, they need to update the system. They need up to $2 to $3 billion to update that system. Last week or during the Christmas holidays, because of the lowering the temperatures, pipes burst, which closed schools. And you don't even have drinking water, But in addition, your child can't go to school.
Right.
Because you haven't put or made it a priority to give Jackson, Mississippi the money to update that system. So however, it's a priority to send Ukraine money.
It makes you sit back and go, And it's very hurtful, especially someone that's fought for this country. Because I can tell you some stories, baby, but we ain't going to do that. Because we're going to keep it great over here. But it makes me sad because water is a necessity.
Yes.
And these are things that third world countries struggle with as far as clean water. But you're in the United States of America, and this is the issue that we have.
It's an issue that we have.
2023, and this is the issue that we have. And then to take that even further with them closing the schools, some young people, that's the only meal that they may be able to even eat from the day. So now you've taken that resource about it. So for all my entrepreneurs out there getting money, you know what I'm saying, putting on a big flex, can we jump in and help? Because I'm also a firm believer in sometimes the federal government just ain't, they're not going to come, at least on the level that we need them to come. But that's where people like you and I can get together with these resources and say, hey, this is your old hood. Just give back a little something. I'm not saying go broke. I'm not going to be ridiculous like some people that say, hey, well, you can go ahead and give up your whole check. We ain't going to do that, not today. Not on we great over here, because we're going to keep it great. But it's just something to say, because like I said, I'm one that if you don't want to give it to me, don't worry. I'll figure out a way to get it myself. But some people don't even have that luxury. So what do you do?
So I feel every day for Jackson, Mississippi. I'll tell you why. Huntsville, Pennsylvania, again. So as a little girl, I had the same water problems.
Wow.
Growing up in Coatesville, Pennsylvania. The well ran dry in the neighborhood that we lived, and a bunch of us, neighbors, we had to go to in the middle of the winter.
Wow.
You know how you saved your milk jugs back then. Washed them out, and you saved your milk jugs back then, and when 100 gallons of water, a pipe was coming out of the ground, and we have to put the milk jug underneath the water. Under the pipe.
Wow.
Fill the milk jug up, put that in the trunk. And, we used to have like 100 gallons at a time. I'm the youngest of 6.
Okay. Big family.
So, big family. So you're talking 8 people in the house. But we couldn't drink the water. We had to boil it. And then,
Wow.
there weren't baths. We had to, wash from the basin. So I understand what it is to have to, boil water before you can brush your teeth or drink it. So I know what it is.
So this is personal for you.
So it is. I mean, I feel for Jackson, Mississippi every step of the way. And Baltimore had their crisis,
Oh
too.
yes, we have.
You know?
Oh yes.
Um, so at the end of the day, you know, I feel as though this situation regarding Ukraine, so I'm not saying we shouldn't help them, but our priority here in the United States is to care for our citizens.
Yes, I agree. Because I can tell you, from living overseas, those other countries don't worry about helping us.
You know,
Not on that level, anyway.
And I look at some of these mayors, according to Senator Angus King, the size of Ukraine, of Putin trying to take Ukraine territories from the size of New York to Florida.
Mm-hmm.
So I pulled a few mayors' names, Mayor Adams, Mayor Kim Kinney, Brandon Scott.
Shout out to Mayor Scott, by the way. Mervo, stand up. Yes.
Wu-Tang. Mayor Bowser. We have a few
Shout out
more.
Mayor Bowser.
And then, do they have a direct line to the president the way Ukraine's president has? I'm just asking. So
I'm going to jump out there and say no, they do not.
You know, because I guarantee you, these cities, big or small, they need more attention and they need more money. And sending all this money to Ukraine isn't such a good idea.
And we're not, again, I just want people to understand, nobody's saying that what Ukraine is going through, it's a war-torn country. Of course, it's terrible that they're going through those things, but you have issues in your own backyard. So why can't we fix the priority? There's different things that we can do, you know. No one should be starving and struggling with clean water in 2023. Because I remember in Flint, and I believe they're still going through that situation. So it's like you have these areas that's right here. They're not in third world countries. They're right here in the great US of A. So how are we going to be great if we're not taking care of those people?
You know, sometimes you got to go with the both program. We should be able to care for our own citizens and be great.
So what type
in
of...
addition to helping Ukraine.
I agree. So what type of policies would your administration put in place to help combat, if anything, maybe even eradicate the problem?
Well, for one thing, I look at the situation in Mississippi, how all the welfare money for the state of Mississippi went missing just to give to Brett Favre and allegedly, Brett Favre allegedly, for his daughter's volleyball gymnasium.
Very egregious act. It was very disgusting. And y'all know I'm a big football fan. And I have to say that he was definitely one of my favorites. I grew up loving Brett Favre, but that broke my heart because how does something like that happen? And even worse, how did we not talk about it? Because if you recall, nobody spoke on it. You heard about what was going on with Kyrie, which wasn't that big of a deal because, of course, we know that his words and what he was doing was all twisted, but we're not going to do that, not on this show. But if you want to hit me up about it, you can call me personally, 410-300-3524. However, I agree with that. That broke my heart because what do you do now?
The money for Mississippi Welfare Program in Mississippi is the last state in the country. They are the highest in poverty.
Yes.
Why would a governor allow the money to go funnel it into a volleyball program and a shell company that was set for one person who was I forget the name, but quote unquote, the money was going to fund research for concussions.
Mm-hmm.
And they were researching a drug, quote unquote, from my understanding, allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, this is someone we put in office as a governor
Right.
for, you know, Mississippians vote for. The welfare money went to the wealthy. So we have got to make sure that funds that are set aside for that, for the water system, for, you know, welfare programs, that they are going to the right
Yes.
recipients.
Yes.
So that's one thing. Um, we have got to put more money into social programs. In addition to, when I say it, I'll say it again, we have got to increase minimum wage. You know, most people want to go to work, make a living wage,
Yes.
take care of the family, you know, 8 hours a day, work, go home, you know, spend time with your kids, take care of your family, get up and go to work. You know, a normal 40-hour work week. We shouldn't, you know, work in 3 jobs,
Working 3 and sometimes 4.
sometimes 4. So just to make ends meet, keeping more than half of our nation in poverty is $7.25 an hour.
Yes.
Let's not, you know, keep playing the code word inflation, which means we don't want you making a living wage.
Right.
And we've got to understand that this, you know, if we are going to look at both sides and be fair and in serving the citizens of this nation, and we have got to give everyone a level playing field.
I agree.
We've got to give everyone a chance to make a living wage, take care of the family, and not be on the streets.
I agree. Because how can you be great at certain things if you have to worry about the necessities of life? Having a home, having clean water, choosing between food, choosing between, okay, I may have to take my child to get looked at because they're sick. I have to I gotta choose between this medication and if I'm gonna make a sandwich. Does it seem extreme? Yes, but to some people, this is everyday life that they deal with. And then they're like, okay, you have some people that say, okay, well, I want to go and work for mine. It's fine. And like we talked about, get 3 and 4 jobs. But now they paying more taxes because the more they bring in, the more that has to go out. Like it's a never ending cycle. How do we stop it? How do we stop it? What do you do?
We've got to get large corporations to pay their federal taxes. You know, we got tax laws in this country where, you know, the rich are getting richer. Fortune 500 companies are keeping more money, you know, and getting workers, you know, labor, $7.25 an hour. We have got to get large corporations, Fortune 500 companies to pay their fair share of taxes. So that's the bottom line.
I love
You know.
that. I love that. And I have a couple more questions before we go off air today. Because I really feel like, Angela, we got to bring you back.
Come back.
Madam
So
President-elect, because I'm going to keep speaking it to the universe. We're going to have to bring you back because these issues are so deep and complex that it's going to take complex solutions to get it back right. And these things are not going to happen overnight. And I feel like as American people, again, taking color out of it because it affects us all, we become such a microwave society, meaning we want everything instant gratification, instant everything. I need it right now. Even my rice, I'm not even going to boil it how it needs to be boiled. I need it in 60 seconds or less. So a lot of these issues have been going on for decades upon decades. It's going to take some serious, everybody working together, some serious things to bring upon serious solutions to get us right. You know, maybe not be perfect because it's going to take a long time to hit the level of perfection, but at least get us to a point where it's a fair playing field and, you know, people living the American dream.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So really quick, do you think, I have to ask this, we've had a black president. Shout out to President Obama.
Mhm.
Do you think the world is ready for a black female president?
Yes, I do. I feel as though the world is ready for me.
I know that's right.
President-elect Angela
Yeah.
Dwyer to govern this country, to be able to look at both sides, because this isn't a Democrat issue or Republican issue. This is so what the American people need issue. Serving, our citizens and helping them achieve the everyday goal of life.
I love
So
that.
just living, being able to get up and every day, praise God, I'm alive. Let me take care of my children
I love
and
that.
go to work.
I love that. And that might be the perfect way to run out the day. How can everybody follow you, learn all about your platform so they can find out that you're really for the people?
Angela Dwyer for President 2024.com. Angela Dwyer, Twitter, me, so to come up my telephone number. So I am going to ask for donations.
Absolutely. This is why
You
you're
can
here.
run the campaign as a cheap. If you could send $5, $10, $20, so that I'm able to help you. Help me help you.
Help me help you.
Help me help you.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day,
So true.
So it's everyone needs a level playing field, even playing field, chance to provide for themselves.
Absolutely. And these guys that are in office, and when I say that, I'm really not looking at gender, so just know that they have the money to back. They have the organizations with money to back them. So just think of it as a win for the underdog, all right? And it's time to get some fresh blood in there, because do you have prior political experience?
I have, running for congressional race in West Virginia, running as president of student government while I was at Morgan, and I did a community service.
Mm-hmm.
So much. In fact, I was the one jail that they closed down, I think, when Larry Hogan came into office.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of thought back in 1985 they should have closed the jail cell down
Back
there.
then.
Yes. So I was surprised. Here we are, 20, 30 years later, and the condition of the jail cell was bad back in 1985. So, I did community service while, beyond my years at Morgan.
I see. And that was something I wanted to get into, but again, we got to bring you back because there's so many issues. How do you do it in one episode? You can do that by coming on back, because I would love to have you back. So once again, guys, she told you her experience, but we need some fresh eyes down in D.C. It's just that simple, because as a citizen, as someone that votes all the time, okay, the people in D.C., great majority of them, are out of touch with the American people. Let's just be honest and call it what it is. We need someone up there that's going to just represent for the people, that's in touch with the people, that see the people every day. And it's like, okay, well, how do we fix it? It's not all about giving, because certain things, again, we have to do this collectively. So make sure that you follow her. Make sure that you donate, because, again, we pushing for someone that is speaking for the true people. And she has to have a level playing field to do so. So, Angela, it was definitely my pleasure. Thank you so much for coming on to Be Great Over Here. You guys can continue to follow me at rsky81, or you can go follow at @WeGreat_over here. And check me out on Facebook. And shout out again to Refresh and Renew Wellness Studio and all of our sponsors. Okay, so till we see each other again, peace and blessings, y'all. Mwah! We're great over here. Yes. Good job. I love it.